everyone, and welcome to the Downright Upright Show, the place to go to hear out loud and proud what Minnesotans are thinking. And I am your host, Philip Anthony. Thank you all for joining us today, and I hope you're all doing fantabulous. And fantabulous is fantastic and fabulous. Put together, twice as nice, saves time. And today is a special day because I have a special guest today. And his name is Jerome Evans, the host of Bottomless Coffee with Jerome, which can be seen on Channel 6 or on mcn6.org, and on demand on the MCN6 Roku channel, or stream through the Bottomless Coffee YouTube channel. And of course, you can listen on every major podcast platform. Did I cover that good?
You did. Hey, everybody. Hey, Philip. Oh, my gosh. It sounds really impressive when you read it out loud.
I had to cover every base because you're on everything, Anyway, welcome to the Downright Upright Show, Jerome.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited.
It's a pleasure to have you. Do you have any plans before we start for Thanksgiving? You going to be doing anything exciting? Or like we said on your show, we're very boring gays,
Yes, I go to my husband's family to celebrate Thanksgiving.
Oh, nice.
I don't remember which aunt we're going to this holiday, but the spread is always really good. And he's got an Aunt Linda who loves wine. And so I always come in, I find Aunt Linda.
Who doesn't?
You know what I mean? She's got the good stuff.
Yes. So before we get into your position as curator of Bottomless Coffee with Jerome, I love that title, too. I always ask my guests about their earlier life, such as where you were born, raised, went to school, and throw in some memories that stick in your mind from that time.
Oh, that's so fun. I just gave a speech to Quorum, the Twin Cities Chamber of Commerce, about National Coming Out Day.
Uh-huh.
And I went to school in Cobb County, Georgia, but it was a performing arts high school.
Were you born there as well?
No. I was born in South Carolina. But I was in high school there and at this performing arts high school. And, they bust in all of the singers, actors, dancers, and what have you from our 700,000 person large county. And so it was a bit like going to like Fame, if you remember the movie Fame, or like Glee, where like everyone was gay,
Okay.
It was just wonderful. And I think
I'm not gay, just my husband is.
Just your husband. Yeah.
Just kidding.
Well, that's just part of my upbringing that I really appreciate now as I've gotten older, is that, my coming out experience was I think the experience that we're all fighting for everyone, where you are who you are with no shame, no judgment,
right.
And so much joy all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when you came out, was it traumatic for you, or was it seamless for you?
Seamless. My friend told me.
Your friend told you?
We were in the cafeteria.
By the way.
She was like, oh, I think you're gay. And I was like, I don't know what that means. Because I think it was like ninth grade or something. And then she described it. And I was like, oh, all those things with those boys? Yes. Oh, then yes.
Mm-hmm. And I was born in the 60s. So when I came out, it was the 70s. And it was not seamless, obviously.
Right.
New York with all the macho boys there and picking on me. But we're going to be positive today.
I'm just going to say, isn't it wonderful that as we advance our queer community, that it's getting easier and easier for people to come out, or even not even really have to come out over time, which is just lovely.
Yeah, and they have, gay straight alliances in the schools today, which was unheard of when I went to school.
It's so good to have that community of people who kind of understand what you're going through and share your concerns and your joys and your fears. I love that they have that in schools now. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And they want to take the books out that validate LGBT people. So that's another issue that, we really have to address because, we talk about all communities in schools, and why leave one out? It's kind of absurd.
100% agree with you. And it's deeply frustrating to see how conservative, I think it's fair to say conservative politicians at the local level are really trying to drag us back into the closet as a community. But you know what? We're not going back.
Oh, honey. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
When the closet door is closed, guess what? You can't breathe.
You know what? You came out during a tough time when it was traumatic, and there were probably no queer books in the library
no. Well,
anyway.
except I was on JP's show. This queer book saved my life, and there was one book that I read, "The Homosexualization of America," and the author, who's still alive, he's in his 80s. God bless him. He's amazing. He was a guest on the show too, so I was able to meet the author of the book. That's what's so great about his show. And I'm plugging your show, JP, just so you know. Yeah. Did you want to say something?
That's wonderful. That's just fantastic that JP was able to put that together. I'll have to see if JP will come on my show sometime.
I hope he does. Yeah, and I hope you go on his show. Because,
why not?
Yeah. Do you have a book that saved your life?
Oh my gosh. Not at this time, but I'll have to look back on the library.
Yeah. Yes, do that. Because there's always a TV character. See, for me, it was that book, but also TV characters. And, there was one positive representation of gay people in the 70s. It was on Soap.
Oh, okay.
And what's his name from Harry Met Sally? Oh, I'm blanking.
I don't recall.
Oh, yeah, well.
But you know what? Even as you were speaking, I was trying to recall a black gay character that would have been on television when I was growing up.
Was there?
And I don't think so. And then even if there had been, I can't imagine that it would have been a positive light shined. So I'll have to do some deep thinking.
Okay, so how did you become interested in hosting Bottomless Coffee with Jerome? Was there a particular experience that planted the seed for interest in that?
I ran for state representative back in 2019, 2020. I was oh my gosh, you really take me back here. I was the chair of our neighborhood association, the Nokomis Neighborhood Association, and the Blue Line train runs through our neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
And a nonprofit had wrapped the train in an advertisement. But the advertisement said that Minnesota is the worst in the country for our children of color. Now, my husband and I were talking about growing our family at that time. And it was like, wait a minute. If we have a child that looks like me, then according to the train, they will receive a worse education than if we have a child that looks like my white husband. And that did not sit right with me. That was not upright, if you will. And so I ran for office on a platform really focused around equity in our education system. I didn't win, but my supporters were like, oh, we can't lose your voice. You've really gone through all that work of finding yourself and what you stand for and what you believe in, and so you've got to keep using your voice. But we were on lockdown during this time. And so I was like, well, I can't do much anyway, and I do have this equipment here. And so we started what was first a podcast called Bottomless Coffee Podcast. And it was called Bottomless Coffee because, again, being on lockdown and people exploring Zoom and what have you for work, there were people who were wearing button downs up top and not very much on the bottom, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah. That's true. A lot of Zoom calls. Yeah.
And so the name is a little cheeky. I did not expect for it to stick for as long as it has, but here we are, and we're just going to keep rolling with it.
Oh, I love that. But I love the title. I really do.
Me too.
And I love your merch.
Oh, thank you.
I think maybe the Downright Upright show should have some merch soon.
I would love a mug.
Yeah, I'll. As soon as I get that together, you will be the first one that gets one.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Or a T-shirt, Anyway, so would you describe the nature of your show? So what is it about? What's the aim, the target?
Yeah.
What do you aim to give the audience from your show?
So the goal of every episode is for our audience to leave feeling inspired and empowered to make the world around them just a little bit better. Because that's all I ever wanted to do.
Yeah.
But trying to do that as one person on your own, the most you're going to achieve is just one person making the world around themselves just a little bit better.
Right.
But if you scale it out, if you broadcast your message to audiences all over the world, then everyone's working kind of towards that similar goal of improving things for everyone else. And I think that makes the world just a little bit better of a place, which is nice.
And your guests are very, you have amazing guests.
I've been very, very blessed in that department.
Yeah.
I think because in the early days, we kind of established that we're gonna have fun and we're gonna tell the truth. And one thing you don't really hear a lot on television is just like the unadulterated truth of what's going on.
Yeah.
And so when you give people that platform, people who don't traditionally get the mic, like my guests, and they get to say whatever is on their mind, sometimes I'm even surprised by what comes out. In our first episode of the television show, we had Zaylor Stout come on, and he wrote the book, Our Gay History in 50 States. And I was trying to get to him as to figure out, like, where's this grit come from for him? And a moment where he really realized that he could do something special. And he described how he was in LA. He had started similar to a gay straight alliance, like a black student union. And some Aryans got wind of it, and they thought, well, we should start a white student union. Or what
Are
have
you kidding me?
Oh, no. This is all in the episode and all streaming, just like you mentioned. But he got punched in the face and called a racial epithet. And
Oh, no.
this is in the first, like, 7 minutes of my first episode of my first television
God.
show.
It was the television version. Oh,
Yeah,
dear.
it was so well, but you know what? In that moment, I thought this is what people need to hear because no one's putting that on television.
Yeah.
You know, and no one, like, people need to understand that when you are fighting for equality, there will be resistance.
Oh, absolutely.
And that resistance can take very many different forms, not always physical, thank goodness, but, you know, no less impactful for that.
Yeah. Well, I went through a lot coming out myself. It was not pleasant. I was hit and called names and.
Oh my gosh,
But
I'm
it's
so
the
sorry.
yeah, it's the 70s. You know.
Well,
it's progressing. You
if
know.
that's what you need to do to give them that forgiveness, and that's okay. But it wasn't right. It wasn't right then. It's not right now.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No. By the way, you had a guest on your show named Philip Anthony. How was that?
The magnificent Philip Anthony graced us with his presence on the show.
I had a blast on your show.
Your
I
episode
must
is
say,
really fun.
It was.
Yes.
I mean, your producer, your director even said it was great. It was, it's a lot of, good positive vibes back and forth. And yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank you again for giving me the platform to talk about my show.
Oh, you're doing really great work, of course.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
And I'm giving you reciprocity. I want to talk about Bottomless Coffee. And you and I, actually, let's go back to Bottomless Coffee. You and I were both had the pleasure of having the same 2 guests on our show, right? We had Ellie Krug, who has a show here, Ellie 2.0 on AM 950. Yeah, it was amazing. And we also had Bianca Vernig, who won her primary. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
See? I'm a bearer of good news.
Oh, that's fantastic.
See, I'm uplifting. And she's running her sugar. I can't
State
remember.
representative.
Yes, but I'm trying to remember the date of the general. It's in December. Look it up. Look it up on the website. And so get out and vote for Bianca.
Absolutely. She's phenomenal. She came on my show wearing a shirt that says "Public Health Saves Lives," and she's one of those people who. When your kids were going to school and at risk for COVID, she was involved in the pandemic planning to keep them safe. She was involved in the decisions at the school board level to keep your kids safe. I mean, she's honestly the real deal, and I'm so proud of her for having won that primary.
And she also talked to you on your show about her work with COVID, right? Which is incredible.
I mean, she's a very busy woman, is what I'll say. And she's helped get people vaccinated. I believe she might have even had a mobile clinic or been part of an association that was like driving around vaccinating people. But
She's an empath, big time.
Oh, is she? Okay, I didn't catch that.
Yes, she's doing all of this for the community.
Yeah.
I mean, and she's selfless. And
I agree with that.
I love it, Anyway, so you've had a lot of guests on your show, like a myriad.
I mean, there's always more to say. There are always more people to platform, but
Can you talk about a couple of the most memorable ones that come to your mind that you want to let the audience know about?
Yeah.
Because I had I think 48 shows already or something like that. So I can't even remember the people. But
So we mentioned Zaylor Stout was guest number 1.
that was guest number 1. Yeah.
One of our most popular videos is featuring Dr. Zeke McKinney, who will be coming back on again in early 2024. And I think what really resonated there is this doctor's conversation on the hierarchy of control, which is like, what can you do to keep yourself safe from COVID-19? Because that was the subject of that show. And he talked about how when employees are being called back into the office, this is what the employers need to do to keep their community safe. Like,
Right.
Vaccination is kind of like the last step that can be taken to keep you safe, but you can do a whole lot more ahead of that. There were like 4 or 5 more steps previous to that. And he's really dynamic. He's really fun, and he's so grounded and real. That's definitely one to watch.
Anybody else you want to talk about
Oh my gosh.
that comes to your mind?
All of them. I love
It's
I love
hard,
all
right?
of my children. Yeah.
Love my children. Love all my children.
I can tell you, we had a trans focus at the early part of this season because we're in our second season now. So we had Ellie come on first. She was the first guest of the second season. But then right after Ellie, we had Dr. John Gatorman come on. And John is a gender-affirming care doctor. And so I really wanted to make sure I platformed the voice of a trans person first, and then really get into, like, what does it take to get to where Ellie is, where you're an out, proud, and thriving individual. And I very intentionally wanted to push back against all of those armchair gender-affirming care experts that came out of the woodwork to pass all of that crazy legislation.
Oh yeah, if you want to know my opinion,
Oh,
about
please.
I might as well throw it out there. No, my audience probably knows I've said it many times. It's not of anybody's business, personally. We're getting involved in people's lives, and that's disturbing. Who should be involved with the child? The parent and the doctor.
Yeah.
That's a medical professional. And a parent who knows what's best for their child.
Yes.
The government has no business talking about this issue in the first place.
No.
Just like it doesn't have any business talking about, gay people, whether we could get married or not.
Completely
It's
agree.
nuts. It's crazy town, banana pants. It's crazy. See, I had to use it because let the listeners know. You can tell them.
Well, that's just something safe you can say on television. That when you're at a loss for words to describe something.
I told you on the show. I said I was stealing it. Remember?
Thank you for doing that.
I stole it.
Yes.
So I'm using it. Crazy Town Banana Pants absolutely describes it. Yeah. So I'm going to move on. That's about the guests that you had on. Are there any people that you're looking forward to seeing in your future shows, or you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Are you familiar with Queer Space Collective?
Vaguely.
They are a nonprofit that helps provide mentorship to queer youth. I know, right? Isn't that wonderful? And
That's
so
great, yeah.
they're I don't know if she's the founder, but I don't know if she's still executive director or what her position is. But her name is Nikki, and she will be coming on. And I believe that episode will air in either January or February.
Send her my way.
Will do.
We got to get her voice out there too.
Yes.
Sounds like an amazing idea. Yeah.
I mean, Minnesota's got some wonderful organizations for our community, but they need money and they need support, and we got to keep platforming them.
Out Front is also a great organization. AM 950 had an event. We were invited, and we had a table at Out Front. Amazing work they do. And Scott Dibble was there, and a bunch of pro-LGBTQ representatives. So thank you for Out Front. And I'm looking forward to learning more about, what's her name one more time?
Nikki.
Nikki. Okay. Hi, Nikki.
Hey, Nikki.
My name's Philip. Anyway, come on my show. So every show depends on sponsors and advertisers. So I know that your show has.
We are funded through a grant by the Minnesota Department of Health.
That's what I wanted to aim at. Can you talk about that? How important that is for your show?
Oh, it's critical. It's what keeps us on the air, and it enables us to platform those people with authentic stories rather than people who are just going to get the clicks, because we stream, like, very likely at the second half of 2024 we're going to transition into monetization on YouTube, and so it'll become really important that the people who come on are able to bring in.
What does that mean? Excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What does monetization mean? Like, you're gonna
when you
gotta have advertisements and stuff.
YouTube is the advertiser in that case.
Okay.
And so what'll be important is just the number of views that you get on your content, and that's why you see influencers and YouTubers doing all this crazy stuff. Because
Crazy Town Banana Pants
all
stuff.
the Crazy Town Banana Pants stuff cuts through the noise.
Yeah.
And I am not super interested in doing crazy stuff, but I think that at this point we've built up enough of an audience to where we can get some authentic views and hopefully continue to support the show.
Wow. I love the fact that the health, what is it, the
Minnesota Department
of Health is doing that, because it's wonderful that we're getting the news out about COVID vaccines.
Yes, and we were also supported for getting the news out about monkeypox, mpox now. And I should go ahead and make this announcement.
Please.
Yes. We were recently awarded, I believe it's called a PRISM grant from the organization P Fund. And so it's a queer organization that supports queer business owners. And so they awarded Bottomless Coffee a grant, presumably, to produce more shows.
Wow, congrats.
Thank you very much.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You guys must watch this show. Channel 6. It's great. It's on every month there's a new show, right?
It's on a lot, yeah.
It's on a lot. I saw myself ad nauseum. I told you I have a face for radio. That's why I'm doing radio. TV is kind of, not my bag. But I was sitting in the chair and I was trying to be as cool and calm and collected as possible.
Listen, you looked great. You sounded great. The message was fantastic. The vibes were on point. It was wonderful.
Thank you. And I feel the same about you. Thank you. Thank you for making me so comfortable. I appreciate that. By the way, this is the Mutual Admiration Society here. Yeah. So that's what's going on today, folks.
It's called friendship.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm building a great friendship with you, and I hope this goes on and on and on forever, because you're an amazing person. So we are both members. This is, goes without saying. We are both members of the LGBTQ community. And how important do you think our perspective shows, your show, my show, are for important voices at this time, because we're being marginalized? How important is it for our voices to get out there?
It's so interesting. This has not aired yet. This will probably air in December or January. But I've taken the podcast to be more YouTube focused, like I mentioned. And so I rented out a space, and my friend Simon Gettle and I talked through the queer experience. And we really seem to think that that being able to critique society at large comes from the way that society kind of views us. One of the intersection of the L, the B, the T, the Q, the I, the A plus, is that society looks at us and is like, oh, you are different, you are other. But what I don't think society at large appreciates is that we look at them and we're like, oh, you could do a lot of things differently. If you just listen to us, we could tell you some improvements that you could make to the way things are run around here.
Yeah.
And I think that's unique to the queer experience. And in this time when, it kind of feels like the wheels are falling off of this country. It's
scary times.
It's scary times. It's a really great time to elevate those voices that are trying to help, that are trying to make things better.
Yes.
I do believe that a rising tide lifts all boats, and that if we are more involved in the process and in the system and working to make things better for all of us, then things will be a little bit less Crazy Town Banana Pants around here.
I love that. When I was on your show, we were talking about how they always tried to, in the old days, tried to make gays freaky. You know, that when we had pride parades, the TV, because I remember this, it was yesterday, they'd find the weirdest person in the parade or in the crowd who's doing the most outlandish things and put it on TV and show everybody, this is what gay people do.
Yeah.
And you and I were discussing how damn boring we are.
I know.
Right? I clean my house. Like you said, you clean your house, talk about sagging foundation in your house and all this stuff. I just don't get how people... There's crazy people in every group. I mean, why would you zero in on those people and make us look like we're like Crazy Town Banana Pants?
Yeah, I left my house to do the show, and I said to my husband, what are you gonna do while I'm gone? He's like, well, it seems dusty here. I'm just gonna clean.
Yeah. So I have to tell you something. We have now come to the part of the show I like to call the shift.
Oh, okay, already. Wow.
We're moving along, and it's like a lightning round. The shift. Don't forget to say the F, please, because if you don't say the F, we have problems, right?
Noted.
The shift.
Shifta.
Yeah, that's what we'll say. And the shift is when we shift the questioning away from your personal journey and towards current events, which sometimes could be a little bleak, but we're going to try to uplift a little bit, okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so, and I haven't had a question from my guests about the twice impeached ex-president for a really, really long time, because I try to keep him out of my mind, But something recently just happened, which gave me the chills. It really scared me to death. So I'm going to tell you what I'm going to read it off here because I don't want to misquote Jenna Ellis, because she was in a video of the Georgia prosecutor's October 23rd proffer session. You know who Jenna Ellis is? She was his Voldemort's past attorney.
Yes.
You know who Voldemort is, right?
Yeah, I know who Voldemort is, and I know who Jenna Ellis is.
Yes. Anyway, so she said that one of his top White House aides, Dan Scavino, allegedly told her, quote, this is a quote, in an excited tone at a White House Christmas party weeks after the 2020 election, that, quote, the boss is not going to leave office under any circumstances. He's not leaving. He lost the election, but he's not leaving. That's what was reported, that Jenna Ellis said that Dan Scavino told her. What do you say about this apparent attempt? This is a coup d'etat, basically. An attempted coup d'etat. Luckily, it didn't succeed. Otherwise, we'd have a Putin-esque government. So any thoughts about that?
Well, we did see a coordinated attempt. Well, it's certainly alleged to be, I think, indicted. So I think it's fair to say that we did see a coordinated attempt to try to overthrow our democracy. And I think we should all be very concerned about the possibility of him coming into office again, because it's been, 6-7 years now. And a lot of people don't really think about our population in the long term, right?
Yeah.
So we have people now who were not able to vote for Trump before, but who experienced his reign, let's call it. And that's what they know. They came of age and they grew up, and they were some of them apparently still support it. We have people who voted for him before that witnessed the events of January 6th and plan on voting for him again.
Yeah.
They understand his authoritarian impulses and they support it.
Yeah.
We have to outvote them. Frankly, we should just be really grateful that they're still abiding by the democratic process at all.
Yeah.
And that he is running for election and not just trying to gather an army or try to overtake it in some other way.
Oh my God! But there was talk. There was a news program that he was thinking of, doing executing martial law.
Yes.
There's a lot of scary things that he was going to do.
Yes.
And people out there must vote. You must.
You really do have
because
to vote.
if you don't vote, you're going to live in a Putin-esque country.
Absolutely.
And that's it. So let's get through some of these in a lightning round form.
Oh, okay. I thought
No. We're good.
Okay.
No, I'm always got an eye out. President Biden and Chinese leader Xi Jinping agreed to open a presidential hotline between the two countries and to curb fentanyl production. So that was very productive, that meeting. The military relationship between the two countries was cut off in direct response to Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. Remember that? It was last year. Do you think this meeting was productive? And or should we not have participated in any détente with China? What's your opinion on that? Do you think it was productive?
Oh, that's so interesting. So I did go to school and major in international relations, and so I do for quite some time. I've not monitored is a strong word, casually observed China's rise, and I think going again to that long-term view, I think China thinks on like the very long-term view, like for the duration of the human race's time on the planet Earth, they want to be the dominant culture. They think their culture is the best, and everyone is better off under their culture. And I don't think the United States, at this point, is able to really participate at that level. I think because of our process, we kind of go from from 8 years to another 8 years. And that's the way we kind of think
That's
of
why
things.
democracy is very shaky, because it can fall at any moment, you know.
That's true.
And being such a divided country, that's what frightens me, because they take advantage of that. They know you need a strong man to keep your country. You can't go by democracy, you know. And if you have a strong man, you have to do whatever they say. You have to wake up at whatever time they tell you to wake up, go to sleep whatever time. You know, it's a dictatorship basically, and it's frightening. And so yeah,
Well, it's certainly anti-democratic. For sure.
Well, yeah.
And I really think we could benefit from taking that really long view of what we do, what our country does around the world, and what that's going to look like 100 years, 200 years, 1,000 years down, and whether or not that'll be for the best.
Yeah. So breaking a couple of days ago, the Supreme Court said that Florida cannot enforce the Protection of Children Act imposed by Ron DeSantis, the governor, which prohibits drag shows, which, by the way, are not sexually explicit all the time.
No.
Actually, the minority of them are, to be attended by children. Justice Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch, the three stooges, I call them, were the three justices that dissented and would have permitted anti-drag show law to proceed. What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, I think all of this anti-drag stuff is so dumb.
It's entertainment.
This idea that the government should decide what men should wear or not be able to wear,
or women,
or where they can wear. Well, you know what? You know what's interesting? I am much less surprised by any attempt of the government to regulate women than I am by the attempts to regulate men, because we're in a patriarchal society.
True. And
typically, men don't stand for it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Typically. I don't know a lot about cis heterosexual culture, not as much as I used to. But you guys, you used to stand up for your rights.
Used to.
You used to.
And now it's becoming crazy town banana pants.
You know, now you're voting for people who are telling you what you can and cannot wear, and that's a little absurd.
Yep, exactly. So now this is a question I love. Representative George DeVolder Santos of New York. You know who he is, right?
I have heard of him.
Or if you want to use his drag name, it's Kitara. That was his drag name when he lived in Brazil. Anyway, he announced he would not be running for a second term, coincidentally right after a damning and long-awaited ethics committee report. So the ethics report was not shining a bright light on him. The report claims Santos used campaign money for himself, like going on trips, getting Botox treatments, and cosmetic procedures. He's going to need more than that. Well, that was mean, wasn't it? I shouldn't be mean. And that violates criminal law. House Ethics Committee Chairman, Mississippi Republican Michael Guest just made a motion to expel him from the House. Any thoughts about Mr. DeVolder, Kitara,
oh my gosh,
Santos?
I have a lot of thoughts. First of all,
Mary.
What difference do you think it makes that he announced that he's not going to run for re-election? He's such a liar.
Oh my God, his whole
well, you know what? I can't believe
yeah.
anything that he says. That they need to expel him from Congress. And I will also say that if we recall the impeachment proceedings for Voldemort, President Voldemort, I guess. You know, we impeached him. We should have convicted him of impeachment in the Senate. It was a mistake not to do that. This is almost like a redo. You've got another liar in office. You got another person behaving improperly.
Yeah.
It's time to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And expel him from Congress.
But you know why they didn't at the onset why they didn't do it, because they had teeny majority in the House. Remember, it was like I don't even know what it is anymore. So they're afraid if they get rid of him, it'll be even less. And
that's fair. That's the leverage that he brings to the table.
Right.
And so I understand.
But he said his parents
calculus.
were in 9/11. They, in the Twin Towers. His another parent, or I don't know. There's so many stories I can't even, gather them into a group. That somebody survived the Holocaust. One of his relatives.
It's been time for him to go for a very long time.
Yeah,
it's really unfortunate that they ever voted for him in the first place.
Isn't it weird?
Yeah.
But he beat that district is very purple, from what I'm hearing in New York, and I don't think it's going to be purple much longer. In my view,
I think they'll be doing their homework on their candidates in the next election cycle.
But it's amazing how you can, just say whatever you want and nobody can verify it. It just went through, and that's why he won, because he sounded like the perfect candidate. But meantime, he's the total opposite of that.
Yeah.
So it's crazy town banana pants again.
Very much.
See, that's why I love the word, because I'm going to be using it on the show because it makes me. It's a perfect description of what's going on in the world today, right?
Yeah.
So we have 5 minutes to go.
In the whole show?
In the whole show.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I like to end the show like an open forum, to talk about whatever's on your mind, whatever's on my mind, and talk to the audience about our concerns. So I want to open it up to you. Do you have anything you would like to discuss that we haven't talked about that you find really important that we can, address on the show today?
I think we could stand to talk, even just briefly in this 5 minutes, about mental health.
Oh yeah.
We're all going through something, and it feels a bit more severe for some people than for others. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure that collectively we're paying a lot of attention to it. But all of these things that are happening, all of this crazy town banana pants business that we're talking about, it takes its toll. Uh-huh. And I think some of us individually are able to, we can meditate in the morning, we can sit quietly or what have you, we can kind of recenter ourselves. A lot of people cannot do that. Mm-hmm. And it shows. Yeah. And so, if you're listening and you haven't taken a moment to kind of unclench your jaw and relax your shoulders, remember to take care of yourself and your mental health. It's really critical.
Well, I can piggyback on that. It's funny that we're reading each other's minds today. I think the problem, in essence, is that we don't have health care in this country, that for equal health care for everyone. Because if people had access to see someone for whatever they're going through, like you mentioned, it would be less. There'd be less of these mass shootings because people are, have no access to mental health. And other countries don't have this issue. But we have, guns are like, that's my big thing now. Look, my family, they hunt. Great. Go hunting. Love it. Perfect. Yeah. Go hunting. But you don't need an AR-15 with 7,000 bullets that are human-piercing bullets that explode in your body, and you can't even. Those kids that were killed in all those shootings, I don't even want to name them all because I could be here for two weeks. Mm-hmm. They couldn't identify the kids. Did you?
Terrible.
Yeah. Because the bullets explode inside of them and destroy their body. It's completely unrecognizable.
This is like a different vibe for me telling you to unclench your jaw and relax your shoulders. If you want to have a clenched jaw and tense shoulders, go watch YouTube videos of what the AR-15 bullets do to the human body. Because there are demonstrations on there, and it's just they're not graphic. They'll shoot them into a dummy or what have you. Mm-hmm. But it's really horrifying.
It is, and it's an offensive weapon. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I talk about this on my show. If you live in your house and you want to protect your house, great. Have a pistol. You know.
Yeah.
But normal times, 50 people will not be trying to rob you at the same time in your house that you need that many bullets to blow it inside a person. I mean, really, it's just absurd to me that you would need that many bullets and that kind of a gun with such power that people, are unrecognizable after they're shot. So
I completely agree.
Yeah. Anyway, so unfortunately, I must close the show now.
Oh.
I know it's close.
Can I remind people?
Yes.
Just go to bottomlesscoffeeshow.com and you can stream all of our podcast episodes, TV show episodes, other YouTube videos, and you can find my direct contact information on Instagram or my email, Jerome@bottomlesscoffeeshow.com.
And you'll really love the show, guys. And I'm not pulling your leg. Is that?
That's still fair.
Is that still fair? So for more information about Jerome Evans.
Oh, great.
And Bottomless Coffee with Jerome. Well, that's okay. You can go to bottomlesscoffeeshow.com. Woo! And one more time, can you tell the audience, that the forums, fora? What's the plural? Where they can see you. Channel 6.
Oh, yes. MCN6, YouTube. MCN6 has a Roku channel, and all major podcast platforms.
Absolutely. And thank you, Jerome, for being a guest on the Downright Upright Show.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Love you, and I can't wait. I hope you come back again, will you?
Yeah.
Okay. And to our listeners, thank you for spending time with us today. Please look out for more of the Downright Upright Show in the future. am950radio.com/events/Philip with 1 L. And finally, thank you to the amazing audience for supporting the show with your subs and clicks. And I'm going to wave goodbye. I love you. Bye.